Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back. Continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we are going to be looking at Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 25. And we are going to be dealing with, among other things, the year of release. The year of release. Okay. Leviticus chapter 25. We are going to jump right in. We're let's see. I think we'll probably just let's see here. Let's read a little bit at a time. We'll look at let's see. Let's start by looking at the first 5 or so verses here. Let me pull it up on the screen here. Leviticus 25. Verse 1. Let's go down to verse 7. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up. Okay. Nice amount.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the land which I give you, then the land shall observe a Sabbath to Yahweh. 6 years you sow your field, and 6 years you prune your vineyard, and gather in its fruit. But in the 7th year, the land is to have a Sabbath of rest, a Sabbath to Yahweh. Do not sow your field, and do not prune your vineyard. Do not reap what grows of its own of your harvest, and do not gather the grapes of your unpruned vine. For it is a year of rest for the land, and the Sabbath of the land shall be to you for food, for you and your servant, and your female servant, and your hired servant, and for the stranger who sojourns with you, and for the livestock and the beasts that are in your land. All its crops are for food.
Okay, very good. So, we see over here that the Most High instituted over here a Sabbath land rest. Okay, if you look over here, verse 2, he said that the land shall observe a Sabbath to Yahweh. It's interesting that we see over here that the Most High deals with the fact that the land needs rest, right? The land needs a time to be restored and rejuvenated, right? When you plant things in the earth, those things that that grow, the things that grow receive their nutrients and things from the earth, right? And so when things are given those things need to be either replaced or rejuvenated, right? So the land, these are just a natural order of things. When the nutrients and the goodness of the land comes up from the land into the things that grows, you know, the those things become depleted and they need to become replenished, um, so that more things can grow. That's why, when you have land and crops, you can't grow like the same thing in the same spot over and over again, because you're literally stripping that spot of whatever it is, nutrients that are being taken up um into the thing that's growing. And so, um, when we look over here and we see, from a physical perspective, the Most High gives the land a chance to just grow, and the things that grows, it says, on its own, you don't gather them, right? And so the thing grows, it comes up into the fruit, and it falls, and it kind of just gets, it gets back into the land again, right? It's almost like this thing is, the it's kind of a recycle effect. You use the thing, and then you're able to allow that thing to be reused. Um, and so again, when we look at this over here, when we think about this from a physical perspective, because again, this is a physical thing that's going on in terms of the land resting. We also, have to think about this from a spiritual perspective, right? We understand that the Most High has given us the Shabbat, for our rest, for our spiritual rest. And now we see that He has this thing for the land as well, right? And so it's interesting that we see over here this cycle, again, this cycle of sevens that we see, where you have these 6 years to sow in the field, and the seventh is the Sabbath. And so if we look over here in verse 4, we see over here, in the 7th year, the land is to have a Sabbath of rest. A Sabbath of rest is a Shabbaton. Shabbaton. Let me pull up our tools over here. Let's see here. Push the wrong button. Okay, some technical difficulties. Get this thing to go back down. go back down either.
Freezing on you.
Whatever. All right, so go here.
Y'all ever read the whole chapter?
No, we just this is hold on one second here. Let me do something about this. Technical difficulties. Okay, let me try this again. All right, so verse 4, where it says, 7th year, you are to have a Sabbath of rest. Verse 4, that is a Shabbat Shabbaton. Shabbat Shabbaton. It's interesting that when we look over here and see, I said this many times, when we look at the word Shabbat, the word Shabbat is used only in the scriptures to reference the 7th day of the week, the weekly Shabbat, the day of atonement, and the 7-year land rest, as we see over here. The other places where we see, the feast days, the first and last day of unleavened bread, Shavuot, trumpets, the tabernacles, the 8th day, all those days are this word here, Shabbaton, which we see over here, the word study, where it says Shabbaton, masculine noun, meaning time of rest, a special, which is mostly always translated as rest, a special holiday, day of rest, a Sabbath rest. The meaning most often denoted from this word is that of the day of rest. In Leviticus, this noun is used to refer to the Day of Atonement, because it says Shabbat, Shabbaton. The sabbatical year, as we're looking over here, the Feast of Trumpets, where it just calls it a Shabbaton, no Shabbat. The 1st and 8th days of Tabernacles, where again it calls it a Shabbaton. So we see over here, when we look it's given this designation that, as far as we can see in the scripture, it only applies to the weekly Sabbath and the Day of Atonement. And so it's interesting when we think about this this time that is being referenced over here in terms of this land rest. There's it seems for that reason, as far as I'm concerned, that there's there's great significance that we need to think about when we think about the land rest. Of course, it's talking about when we are in the land. However, if we were to, the thing about the Torah is when we walk out the Torah, when we do the things that are prescribed in it, these things are always good things. And so if we have a land that we plow, that we, that we grow things on, we should also, keep these commands in regards to the resting of the land. Again, because of the importance that the Most High seems to put on these days and these times. He says that you do not sow the field. And so let's see here. So this word zara, to plant, to fructify, fructify, bear, conceive, seed, set with, sow. So you're not planting nothing in the fields on that seventh year. Okay, you're not planting nothing. You're not pruning. You're not pruning anything, which, when you think about it in terms of things that grow on a vine, that process of pruning your vines is critical to the growth of the plant. I noticed from my experience with grapevines, even though my grapevines got disease, they grow like crazy, disease infested and all. but when you cut them back, it allows for you to have more fruit grow. And so when you, like, if I let my grapevines grow, throughout the season and don't do anything the next season, you would think because it's a bigger thing that more fruit will grow. You would think that. But for whatever reason, for it to grow more, it got to cut back more. And so when you prune it, you cut it back all the way back to like the main vines, at the beginning of the season. And by the end of the season, you have what you had and more. And so when we think about the idea of, the way that the Most High talks about, how, we are the vine, He is the dresser, and all of this, part of our growth involves, things being cut off.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing being cut off, then you can't grow properly. And we see this from the scripture. The scripture shows us this in nature. And again, it's interesting that the Most High gives us all of these spiritual lessons through nature, through agriculture. And so if we say that when we look and see that the land needs to be given a time to rest, where you don't sow, where there's no pruning, there's no sowing. You just reap the benefits from what's already been planted. How much more so then for us as individuals? Um, it's not always time to be finding new things, right? If we think about it in the cycle of sevens here, you have these 6 years that go by that you're finding new things, you're planting new seeds, you're allowing those things to grow, you're reaping the things that you sow. But then now at this land rest, there's a time where you're only just living off of what's already been sowed, right? You live off the fruit of the things that that grow naturally. If the stuff falls, you don't harvest it. So I guess during that time, you got to get what you can get off of the tree that grows. And once it falls, it says don't eat it. Don't eat what grows of its own of your harvest, and do not gather the grapes of the unripened vine. And so when we think about the land rest, now we're dependent on the increase that the Most High is going to provide for that time. Which is interesting because some things that you plant aren't like they're not perennial, where they die over the winter and then come back alive the next year. Some things are, but some things they just last one season, right? And so you really would have had to prepare in that 6 year. In that 6 year, you would have had to have prepared in that 6 year to allow you to make it all the way into the harvest of the first year.
Right.
But after you planted again and that stuff grew. And so it's almost as if you're looking for the Most High to give you kind of like a triple blessing on that 6 year to get you to make it all the way over till through the first year into the reaping of the first year. When the cycle starts over again. And the Most High is saying that he's going to, if you do this process the way he's saying, he's not going to not do it for you. Right? He's not going to have you out here like, I got nothing. I got nothing.
I was thinking maybe like if they sectioned off their fields and staggered it. So it's like this one's in the X year, this one's in this year. So it's like this field is taking the time. Yeah. But I still got this field over here. Or is this saying all your fields?
Yeah, it's a clock. It's a clock. Cycle. So yeah, so when we look down further, let's read through the rest of it and then we'll come back. Let's start reading at verse 8.
Verse 8, okay. It says, "And you shall count 7 Sabbaths of years for yourself, 7 times 7 years. And the time of the 7th Sabbath of years shall be to you 49 years. You shall then sound a shofar sound on the 10th day of the 7th new moon of Yom HaKippur. Cause a shofar to sound through all your land. And you shall set the 15th year apart. Oh, 50th, my bad. 50th year apart, and proclaim the lease throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It is a yobel for you. And each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you return to his clan. The 50th year is a yobel to you. Do not sow nor reap what is grown of its own, nor gather from its unpruned vine. It's a yobel. It is set apart to you. Eat from the field its crops. In the year of this yobel, let each one of you return to his possession. And when you sell whatever to your neighbor or buy from the hand of your neighbor, do not exploit one another. According to the number of years after the yobel you buy from your neighbor, and according to the number of years of crops he sells to you. According to the greater number of years you increase his price, and according to the fewer number of years you diminish his price, because he sells to you according to the number of the years of the crops.
Okay, let's stop right there because we're talking about the 7 years. When we think about the 7-year cycle, it's like a fixed cycle. Part of the thing that we deal with because of the fact that we're in exile and disconnected from the Most High's time clock is knowing where we are in the cycle and where we are in these 50th years, because these Jubilee years are important. Because when we think about the return of the of Yeshua, I mean, why wouldn't he come back during the year of Jubilee? I mean, just why wouldn't he? Right? It just seemed right. But because of the fact that we're in exile, we're disconnected from the cycles. You know, we don't know where we're at in the cycles, right? But we see over here, like if I'm gonna sell you some land, I'm not gonna sell you no land and get top dollar if I'm selling it to you, and it's like 48th year.
Yeah. Right.
Because on the 50th year it goes back.
Right.
Right, because you didn't sell out your land. It wasn't perpetual. Right. If I had these, if you was putting yourself into servitude, you get released at the year of release, and so you lose value the closer you are to that.
Right.
To that time, because you only I ain't gonna get a whole lifetime out of you. I'm just going. So prices is up. The mark is up when it's at the beginning of the 50.
Right. Right.
Right. The inflation is like at its peak.
Right.
But once you get close to the 50, then now things are getting a little more. They get cheaper at that time, and so. Again, we think about these things. Again, it's important from a principle standpoint for us to who actually do plant in the ground to try to implement these things into what we're doing. First of all, because these are the Most High's commands that He commanded for us to do. But second of all, He's commanding us to do these things because they really have a functional purpose, from a natural perspective. So, me personally, I have this little plot of land over here that I put stuff in, and last year with my raised beds, I had a little more success, but I think that as I continue with the process of adding more nutrients to the land, which have been depleted, I'm basically just starting from zero over here with my beds, this previous year. Like I said, they did all right, but the animals,
Exactly.
they didn't help me much.
Right.
But again, thinking about it from a spiritual perspective, a key thing that is being kind of dealt with this whole thing is kind of the replenishing of the nutrients in the land so that the things are able to grow. And so again, from a spiritual perspective, we have to be able to continually be adding uh, spiritual nutrients to our situation, right? And understanding that as we give out or use these spiritual nutrients, these things that the Most High gives to us, as we use the things that the Most High gives us, it leaves room for us to get more and grow more and give more. But again, we have to think about this time of rest that the land receives over and above the weekly rest, right? Because the land rests on the Sabbath as well. You wasn't going out and working the land on the weekly Sabbath, right? But you also wasn't doing it for that full year's time when it was the land rest. Okay, and so when we went down, we just looked at over here, we see it talks about the year of Jubilee, right? You have 7 years, 7 times, right? 7 years, 7 times get you up to 49 years. And then now on that, and then you shall then sound a shofar sound on the 10th day of the 7th new moon through the land, this year of release, right? Where there is a release throughout all the land and its inhabitants, right? For it says, each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you shall return to his clan. Okay, so basically, you get one of these, maybe 2, depending on how your lifespan fits. We're and again fitting into the time clock of these periods of release. And again, us living in exile, living according to the laws of these lands that we live in, and not according to the laws of the Most High. When we're just out here, kind of just in perpetual slavery, perpetual servitude to these masters who, we don't have a time when our debt is just released.
Exactly.
We got to work our debt off forever. Right? Some people can never work their debt off.
Born in the debt.
And we have all of these things that are against us. When we look in the law that's given by the Most High, he takes these things into account. As aware, you're going to have servitude. You're going to have people having debts and being indebted to other people. But these things are not built or made to be perpetual situations. There's a way out of it built into the law, statutes, and commands of the Most High. We have this year of release where it's a reset. You bogged down with all of these things. Life, has put you in a situation or situations. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this year is that year of release where you're able to be freed from all the things that bind you. We don't have these things in this land where we are, but we know according to the scriptures that the Most High is restoring all things. And so when we think about the fact that the Most High is indeed restoring all things, again, like I said, I don't see how we could think that his return wouldn't coincide with this over here.
Right.
To me, I feel like if we was able to know where we was at, it would help us in understanding. It would be another way to help us to understand, his return. Approximate, anyway. Because, this is the year of release. We see it's this time where this trumpet is blown. And when that trumpet is blown, the debts are cleared. That's what happens with the Day of Atonement. Debts are cleared. Things that you've done that are contrary to the Most High, you confess those things, and those things are erased, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we look over here, let's just see here. This is verse 10. It's translated as a jubilee. This word here, the blast of the horn, a continuous sound, the signal of the silver trumpets, hence the instrument itself and the festival. Thus introduced the Jubilee ram's horn. We're able to think about the coming of Yeshua when we think about the blasting of the shofar. Right, the blasting of the horn is synonymous with Yeshua coming and returning, and we know when Yeshua returns, that's liberty being proclaimed throughout the land.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to, thinking about the year of return, I wanted to look over in Isaiah. We're going to come back to Leviticus 25. I want to look over in Isaiah and read a little bit. Thinking about the year of return. Because, understanding that, this was a thing that was done in Israel in terms of understanding the cycle of years, understanding the land rest, understanding these 50th years. At this point, we're kind of only able to look at this from a spiritual perspective because we've been knocked out of whack with the cycle. But when we think about this from a spiritual perspective, understanding that even though we may not be able to know when this exact time is for us, we're still able to understand its significance from a spiritual perspective, and also its importance in from a messianic standpoint. And so let's look over in Isaiah, Ishiyahu, chapter 55. I want to read some of that.
everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no silver, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, and your labor for what does not satisfy? Listen to me, and eat what is good, and let your being delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me, hear, so that your being lives, and let me make an everlasting covenant with you, the trustworthy, loving commitments of David.
Okay. When we look at this chapter over here, some interesting things that are talked about, and mostly when you look at this, these are some messianic prophecies that's going forth over here, and we think about the things that it's talking about. Everyone who thirsts, right, come to the waters. That's Yeshua said that, right? If you're thirsty, right, come and drink from this well, and you'll never thirst again, right? He said that about his own self. He said, "Oh, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. You who have no silver, come buy and eat." He said, "If you don't have any silver, so what are you buying with? Right? Come buy wine and milk without silver, without price." He's offering you this thing, and you're getting this thing that is of great value: wine, right, milk, without silver. And he says over in verse 2, "Why do you weigh out silver? Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread?" You know, we sit up here, and we we take our silver and we get all types of things and use our quote unquote silver for things that don't satisfy. Right? Your labor for what does not satisfy. We're doing all these things. You know, we be out working hard for these things that don't satisfy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying that he has this thing that you're able to buy without silver. You're out here doing all this work to gain all of these things. But he said, "Listen to me and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness." But these are all things that he's providing for you at a cost that didn't come from you. Right? He's talking about what we receive through Yeshua. He said, "Incline your ear and come to me, so that your soul can live." But this over here, this in the King James, talks about the sure mercies of David. Right? "Incline your ear and come to me, hear, and your soul shall live, and I'll make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David." Right? So these sure mercies of David are connected to this everlasting covenant that he's going to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's giving you one thing over here. It's this everlasting covenant, and he just kind of expounds on this everlasting covenant. Oh yeah, those are the sure mercies of David. This word here, Aman, to build up, to support, foster something that's firm, faithful, trustworthy, right? Something that's permanent, something that's true, right? Something that's steadfast, right? So these mercies of David are firm and faithful and trustworthy and steadfast. This everlasting covenant is firm and faithful and trustworthy and permanent. Right? But what's he talking about here? These mercies, these mercies of David, these sure mercies of David. When we think about David, David's called the apple of the Most High, the Most High's eye. Right? But David wasn't perfect. David wasn't perfect. David was far from perfect. David had some serious things against him.
Excuse me.
David did things that was worthy of death. David did. The Most High punished David for those things that he did. But David, in spite of those things that he did, received mercy. Right? And again, when we talk about mercy, mercy is, you not getting what you deserve for the things that you have done. Right? We talked about last week a little bit the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Right? Where Yeshua sits up there and says, you've heard it said, right? But I say, somebody slaps you, give them the other cheek. Right? And we talked about the fact that Yeshua is giving this us the principle of mercy, right? Of not dealing with people according to what it is that they deserve. David deserved death, right? But what he got was mercy. And so when we think about this from a larger picture, from a prophetic standpoint, with the idea of buying this wine and milk without silver, without a price, in terms of we don't have a price. As far as us, the price is zero. It's paid for by somebody else, right? Who is Yeshua. We are receiving this thing that could be categorized as the sure mercies of David. When we think about the new covenant, where we fit into this new covenant, this thing where the Most High comes and sends his Ruach HaKodesh to come and live and dwell on the inside of us, this, that in and of itself is the sure mercies of David. The fact that he's able to take this people that this disobedient people that was cast away and destroyed and driven to this faraway land that's not our own, to live for hundreds of years under these curses, for us to be able to make it back to the Father is the sure mercies of David, the manifestations of the sure mercies of David.
Yeah, I was last night during our little Shabbat, we do a little prayer, little service type thing, and I just have a message each Shabbat, and that was kind of what I talked about. It's funny how you bring it's coming out like you got a lot of people who get out here and spend all this money on degrees and pay all this money for all this different types of stuff, but the value of it is it's not as valuable as what the Most High gave us for nothing. You know, it's like but where he just said, listen to me. That's all with our classes. We gotta listen, like our time, right? You know, just to do that and just to see like that's to be blessed to have that opportunity is you know it's priceless. You know, it's like the ultimate information that you ain't even gotta pay. We have to pay for it. You know, and people looking for this, whether it be salvation or whatever, and all these other different places, and think you gotta pay this price or do these certain things when you gotta listen.
Yeah, obedience.
Yeah.
He said, "What you gotta do is incline your ear and come to me." That's what he said.
Yep.
He got something to give you, but if you not able to receive it through your ear and come, then you know you're not gonna have it. He said, "Hear, so that your soul lives."
Right.
Shema that. Shema. Let me see. I want to just sit up here and just be talking and saying stuff. He said, "Hear." What did that word say? Shema. Right? Shema, so your soul shall live. We know that there's obedience incorporated in Shema. We know that we heard it because we obeyed. That's the way that your soul lives. Right? And if my soul living isn't worth, you know, this milk that he's talking about, or this wine that he's talking about, or this water that I desire when I'm thirsty that he's talking about, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's saying over here. Eat what is good, let your soul delight itself in fatness. The goodness, right? The goodness of what it is that he has to give. Right? So when we think about the mercies, of David, these things that we receive because of the price that Yeshua paid. The price that Yeshua paid. All we did was believe that he did it. All we did and trust in what he did, but he paid. Right? For us, there was no price. Right? And so let's keep on going over here. Verse, let's see here, verse 4. We're still talking about these mercies of David, because when we think about these sure mercies of David, again, we talking about what it is we receive through this eternal covenant that we have access to because of what it is that Yeshua has done. Okay, go ahead.
See, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and a commander for the people. See, a nation you do not know, you shall call, and a nation who does not know you run to you, because of Yahweh, your Elohim, and the set apart one of Israel, for he has adorned you. Seek Yahweh while he is to be found, call on him while he is near.
Okay, stop right there. When we think about, you know, these things over here, this idea of, you know, where we are, not only where we are, but Yeshua's role in all of this also being connected with the mercies of David, knowing that David, who he was, um, the seed of Messiah came through David. Okay, that's how blessed that David was. Is that the seed of Messiah, the one who comes and allows for us to be able to buy with no silver. More examples of the mercies of David is the fact that the Messiah is the son of David.
Mm-hmm.
But we see over here that there is a time when we're able to, be attached to Yeshua. And that time period is fixed. Right? Seek Yahweh while he is to be found. Call on him when he is near. You know, there's a sense, there should be a sense of urgency in terms of, being joined to the master. Because there's going to be a time when the people that's with him is with him, and then that's it. Right? And we really have to think about these things in our lives, because we're at a time now where things are getting really progressively worse. Things are getting progressively worse. This place that we live in, there's more wicked things happening every single day, and we need to be trying to figure out how we're able to get back to the master. Like, that got to be our number one priority in life. And right, and then once we've done that, figuring out how we can help for other people to get back to the master. Because these times that we're living in, it seems like things is right around the corner. That it's going to be uncomfortable for everybody, no matter whose side you on. All right, it's gonna be uncomfortable for us, even though we're gonna make it through it. It's gonna still be uncomfortable. It said even if the elect could be swayed. When you think about the times that the things that you would have to be going through, where the Most I talk about shortening things so that the elect
be saved.
shortening things so that the elect don't fall. And so you got to be going through some things, and then I made it, like you know what I mean. And so these end times, don't think because you've already decided to follow after Yeshua that it's just a walk in the park for you.
You joining the fight, but you going you picking a side.
You picking a side,
That's all
but you
doing.
gonna fight.
It's fight, though. Yeah, because it's a war. Like, the rest don't come. Like, that dude, until he come back, it ain't no rest for us. It's so you just doing the right thing by picking the winning side.
Yeah. But it's still gonna be still gonna be a fight.
Right.
When he comes and restores things, and that's a whole other thing. But up until the point where he comes and that trumpet is blown for that that year of release, that year of liberty, right? it's gonna be war. It's gonna be like that song that we read. That when you read that song, you get to the end, it's like, wow, was there like a rebound to the song? Like it seems like it's all like bad. That stuff is going on. Like,
Yeah.
but we know that the Most High is gonna be there for us. But even if we think about what it would be like to have to eat off of what you stored
Yeah.
from last year to get you through.
Yeah.
Like whenever it's regular times, you just eat whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but in those other times when you're eating from what was stored, you probably have like an allotment
Right.
for the day.
Exactly.
Like, this is what I'm gonna eat, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Cause this thing gotta last me all the way till
Yeah.
before.
Right.
I'm dealing with things that was sown from the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And so, things is probably being rationed out.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you think about that, there's a hardship that's, that seems that it goes right along with that.
Yeah.
Still understanding that the Most High who set up the process is in control, and we're by faith walking out in faith in the provision of the Most High. But that don't mean that it has to be this thing where we're just sitting around just eating and drinking like crazy.
Right.
Necessarily. We might just be getting what we need just to get by.
And that's too, like how we're talking about the land Sabbath, year of Jubilee, and on a spiritual level, even preparing, knowing that His return is near, from the things that we're witnessing and what the scriptures talked about, and putting up provisions. It's like preparing for that. It's like on a spiritual, we don't know exactly when, but we know that it's soon to happen. It's on the horizon.
Yeah.
I got a precept for this. Isaiah 33:6. Since we in Isaiah. It says, and he shall be the trustworthiness of your times, a wealth of deliverance, wisdom and knowledge, the fear of Yahweh, that is his treasure. So I'm gonna read the King James version too. I like this one too. It say, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So we gonna be coming in unstable times, like we were talking about. It's gonna be unstable, but the only thing that's gonna get us through is this is the word.
Yeah, and the word gives us His instructions for how we're to live our lives. And so if we're living our lives according to His instructions, it helps us to be able to prepare for all types of different things. And so we have to remember that, that the Most High, He is preparing us. And He prepares us ahead of time for the times that are to come. And again, we think about the year of release, these people, that's what we did. We knew we wasn't putting nothing in the ground on that 7th year. So, y'all willing, our 6th year is going to be great, where it's going to give us what we need to get us all the way through to the harvest of the 1st year. Okay. All right. So let's go back because we want to look at this Isaiah more before we go back to Leviticus. Because we still talking about the same thing over here. 55. Okay, yes. Keep reading from verse 7.
It says, let the wrong forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to Yahweh, who has compassion on him, and to our Elohim, for he pardons much.
Oh, hold on. When we look at verse 7, now again, we think about the year of release. The year of release is about this great pardon. The year of release is about this great removal of debt, right? But you have to be functioning according to the law, statutes, and commandments in order for you to benefit from these things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not keeping his laws, you're not worrying about the year of release, and therefore you're not benefiting from it.
Exactly.
Right? But he says over here, let the wrong forsake his way.
Right.
The wrong way. Right? You're forsaking your own way, that wrong way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts.
Yep.
You got to turn around from these wrong ways and these wicked thoughts and return to the Most High. Because when you do that, there's compassion that's waiting for you. There's mercy. There's the sure mercies of David that are waiting for you. Right? When you turn away from your own wicked thoughts. What that say in verse 8?
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways.
I mean, come on. He's saying, this is obvious, right? You turn away from your thoughts because you're not thinking about the same thing that the Most High is thinking about. Mm-hmm. The ways and things that you on, he not on those things. Remember, we seen up in this verse, you sit up here spit the silver on thing that's not bread. Thing that don't satisfy you. You out here working hard like a slave for these things that don't even satisfy. That's because your thoughts and ways aren't congruent with that of the Most High. Mm-hmm. All right, what was say in verse 9?
It says, for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Verse 10.
For as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth and make it bring forth and bud and give seed to the sower and bread to the eater.
Okay, so we think about the Most High and how he operates. It's interesting we think about this verse over here where it talks about the water that comes down, the rain and the snow that comes down from the heavens and it don't go back up. Right? The rains and the snow, the water that comes down, these blessings that come down from the heavens that are meant for the things that's on the earth. Mm-hmm. They don't go back up. He does all of these things for our benefits, not for his own benefit, for our benefit. Right? The rain comes down, the snow from the heavens, and it don't return. It don't go back up because it's not for the heavens. Right. It's for us down here. And when those things come down, beautiful things come as a result. Right? Brings forth blood and gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Right? These blessings that come down from the Father are made for us. But what does it say in verse 11?
So is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but shall do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I set for it.
Just like when we look and see how the things that the Most High puts in motion by sending down the water to give nutrients to the seed that grows and produces fruit. His word is the same way. His word is the seed. His word is that water, right? And he expects for these things in us to manifest themselves with fruit.
Mm-hmm.
He has a thing for each and every one of us to be doing.
Right.
He put a seed in you. He dropped some water on that seed that he put in you. And he expects for that thing to grow and manifest and begin to multiply. When we look at, nature, mankind, it's interesting that, it don't much gotta happen for you to sit up there and grow something. You get a seed, you get some soil, some good soil, a seed, and some water. You gonna have something magnificent in time.
Right.
Something magnificent's gonna go when you got some good soil, a seed, and some water. If we would get out of the way of our own self and our own growth, how much more so would the manifestation of the Most High's word seed in us be manifest if we would just allow for that thing that he planted in us to grow. He tried to show us how easy it is if we just kind of just move aside.
Mm-hmm.
If we just allow the process that he put forth to happen, some magnificent things could happen if we would just allow the process that he created to be manifest. Right? If we would forsake our thoughts and align ourselves with his thoughts. Right? If we would just understand that he has given us the rain and the water from above to grow us, and he just wants for us to allow the natural process of events to take place, through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh.
Yep.
He tries to show us through agriculture, and we want for this thing to be, harder than what he has made it to be, right? But it all boils down to us being able to trust in the faithful one, right? He's the faithful one. All we gotta do is have faith in the faithful one, which that seems like he's the faithful one. It's not like he's like this iffy kind of a, right? If it's me, then that's one thing. You guys sit up here and depend on me. But you got to depend on the dependable one.
I go back to what you started out back in Leviticus with the pruning, though. And letting off. People don't want to go through that pruning to let him be all of that.
Yeah.
You know? I think that's the biggest hiccup.
Yeah. But that's this though. That's this.
Yeah.
That's this. My thoughts aren't your thoughts.
Yeah.
The when we allow for our thoughts to be pruned and cut away,
Mm-hmm.
then now his things is able to be manifest. When we allow for his ways, our ways, to be pruned and cut away, then his ways are manifest.
Mm-hmm.
Our ways are the wrong ways.
Right.
Period. He said, forsake those things.
Right.
What does word mean, forsake? What I gotta do to forsake my way? I gotta loosen. I gotta relinquish. I gotta relinquish my ways. That means I gotta hold on them things, and then I'm just like I'm letting the thing go. I'm relinquishing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding them things tight in the mud. I got it in the headlock with I got the kung fu grip on the thing, but I'm relinquishing it. I'm letting that thing, just letting it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, my life didn't start getting on track until I relinquished myself.
Yeah.
Until I, literally stopped thinking and start doing what he said. That's when my life got on track. Because everything I did, it turned it up bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's to loosen, right? You have what you think. Actually, it's real. In all actuality, it's a tight grip on things. On things that you think you should be having a grip on. But the Most High is saying that you need to loosen that grip. Relinquish. And I think that's a main problem for that's pruning. Right? If I have to cut something away, then that thing is fully attached.
Right.
It's all the way attached. And the only way to get it off is to cut it.
Yeah.
Off, or to allow for it to be cut off. And we have to be able to get to the place. The Most High, when we look at the Torah, we look at Yeshua and his teachings, he is showing us these spirit. The scripture said that the commands is holy, and he said that they're spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look over there, we're talking about the land rest. That seems like it's physical, but he said it's spiritual. So we are able to see spiritual things in this thing that's shown to us from a physical perspective. And so when we look over here and we see where he's talking about this time, there's a time to sow, there's a time to prune. And that time is most of the time of sowing and pruning and tilling and reaping. That's most of the time. And then you got this small time where you eat off of the work that you did during the big time.
Mm-hmm.
But the most of your time deals with digging, like hoeing, breaking up clumps of things, pruning, cutting off things, working the thing, right? And so if we was to think about this from Leviticus 25 from a spiritual perspective, where it's telling us about this 6 years when we work and we plow the land and all of this, and the 1 year when we rest, to me it seems like, we're in action, in promoting growth with cutting and watering and sowing and plowing and tilling and all of these things for 6/7 of the time. Then just the little 1/7 we eat off of what we did the other 6/7 of the time. So there's a greater time of activity than there is this small time of inactivity. And in that inactivity, you're eating off of the time of activity. All right, let's read some more of this. I want to go back to Leviticus. Oh, 12.
For with joy you go out, and with peace you are brought in. The mountains and the hills break forth into singing before you, and all the trees of the field clap their hands. Instead of the thorn, the cypress comes up, and instead of the nettle, the myrtle comes up. And it shall be to Yahweh for a name, for an everlasting sign, which is not cut off.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, when we look at this whole chapter in its entirety, when we see the fact that, it begins, we're talking about this whole idea of, eating of this thing that was paid for, but you didn't pay for it. After you get to the place of understanding that using this silver for all these things that don't satisfy, getting you to understand that when you incline your ear and come to me, then your soul lives, right? After you forsake your own mind and get yourself aligned with the mind of the Most High, this thing that he's describing over here is the year of release. He said over here, instead of thorns and cypress comes up. When we think about thorns coming up, I think about this. When I think about thorns coming up, it made me think about Genesis 3. Read verse 17 and 18.
And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. And toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life.
He said, cursed is the ground. The ground is cursed. The ground is cursed.
Yeah.
Okay, keep on going. 18.
It says, and the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field.
Okay, very good. So over here, this ground is cursed, and the ground's giving up these thorns and these thistles that you guys sit up here and work through in order to get the stuff that you planted. Right? When we see Yeshua talking about the wheat and the tares, you guys sit up there and let the tares grow with the wheat, because if you sit up there and try to pull up the tares, you're going to pull up the wheat at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we got these things going on because of the fact that the ground is cursed. When we look over here back in Isaiah 55 and 12, he said instead of thorns, cypress comes up, like big strong trees. He talking about reversing the curse over here in Isaiah. It shall be to Yahweh for a name, for an everlasting sign which is not cut off. He gonna do something where he gonna be attached, the people gonna be attached to him, and there's not gonna be no cutoffs. That right there is about being released from the curse. Release from the things that are binding you, right? Like how what we see with the year of release is where you're bound up. But there comes a time when you become free. When we look over here, this is describing that time where instead of thorns, you got big, beautiful trees that come up. Right? Instead of these nettles, you got these myrtles that come up. Look over here. Romans. Romans 8.
22. For we know that all the creation groans together and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now.
Okay, so all creation is in anticipation for the manifestation of Yeshua. All the way down to the earth.
Yeah, I was about to say, because once it's like the Most High made, it's a whole ecosystem. You take one thing out of balance and the whole thing becomes unbalanced, you know? So that makes sense, especially if man is out of order.
Man out of order.
And the Most High gave dominion to man to look after this. You got out of order, so everything's messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like the scripture where it talks about, silver, things that are, they're using the silver for, like, things that are nothing. That's how man is with the earth. They're doing things with the earth that don't really profit anything good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it might give them what they need to create these inventions that ultimately end up hurting the earth. We created cars. Yeah, okay, yeah, it gets us to point A and point B faster, but it releases all these fumes and carbon and so the things that man does with the earth, it ultimately ends up to bite us in the end.
Yeah. Because our ways are wicked. Our ways are not his ways. We come up with all these ideas, and in our wicked and our cold, dead, wicked hearts, they seem like they some good ideas. But our ways aren't his ways. And so, when you think about it, if we just was to think about going back to Leviticus and the fact that, the land goes back to, if I belong to a tribe and I sell my land to somebody, it don't stay outside of the tribe forever. There's a year of return where the thing goes back. People don't own the land. You know what I mean? Where I gotta sit up here and this stuff is perpetually gone from my inheritance. It can be gone for a period.
So when they say when every man's supposed to return back to their possessions, going back to during the time of the priests and all that, before we got exiled and all that. Yeah, because the tribes they plot different pieces of land, so wait, somebody else could come buy it and then they give it back? Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like, you're renting the land for a certain amount of time and then they gotta go back.
It's a lifetime. It's 50 years. If you get it at the front part.
But your children's lives are not suffering because you then gave away the land. You gave away their inheritance.
Mm.
So your child will get to, get back the land that was given away due to your hardship or whatever mistake you done made.
Yeah, that's right. Because everybody got some land. Because you need land to live. Everybody got to live somewhere. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. So you can never not be like without nothing,
Right.
like we are today. Like we got nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. You got to
I
pay
ain't got
tax on this
nothing.
little plot.
This
No.
little stupid thing that's over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does it say over there? The land is polluted. This is not our rest. What that verse say?
Oh, which one?
Numbers 35 and 33.
Oh, numbers. Oh, okay. And do not profane the land where you are, for blood profanes the land, and the land is not pardoned for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it.
Yeah, well, we exist in a land that is indeed polluted.
Yeah.
Like this is not our land. We just over here. But what we do have to understand is that within the Torah is these principles as to where, again, looking at these things, this is talking about the land, the land, right? And so, you do these things when you get into the land, but from a principle standpoint, these things remain true, right? So, it would be advantageous for you to kind of replicate these things even in this polluted land, from a principle standpoint. But yeah, when we look at this year of release, it helps for us to see that great time when Yeshua returns and restores all things back to the way that they're supposed to be. Right? Everything is put back in balance. Whenever we got this house here, I felt like this was gonna be the house that I passed on to the throughout the family or whatever. But look like I'm gonna probably need this house to get out of here. You know what I mean? And so maybe where I'm going, maybe that be the thing that goes down in the family.
That would be better because you had land to grow and
Yeah, I'm just saying. But in a perfect world, in the perfect world, I wouldn't need this in order to go to the next step. Right. I could just go to the next step and have this over here for whatever. I mean that XRP hit, you know what I'm saying? This is it right here. But the thing is, when we think about things according to the scripture, you had something to leave behind. We're in a bad situation. People ain't got nothing to leave behind. Nothing.
They leave negatives behind. In some cases.
You leave out there and you in the red.
You think it's bad now. Wait till they start implementing all their plans where everything is owned by the government. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so when we look at this Leviticus over here, we long for this because we know this year of release happens, this is Yeshua.
Right.
This is Yeshua coming back, and he's restoring all things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't gotta be enslaved to these people no more.
Right.
Right? Because he done proclaimed liberty in the land.
I mean, can you imagine the feeling that? I mean, I I don't know if animals and stuff, can know things, and I mean, well, they know things. They know when something ain't right, right? Because you got all these fish just dying. I know they wondering like, hey, why can't I just? This is my space, my water. Like, why can't I just do the things I normally do? You got bees just dying, disappearing. All of these species on the earth are just like minding their business, suffering, dying, dropping out the sky, dead. The air, the water, everything is contaminated. Can you imagine how it's going to look? How it's going to be when Yeshua returns, man?
No time of restoration.
Oh my goodness!
When the curse is lifted off of the earth
Yeah, that's
and everything.
can't even. Yeah, it's just like
I mean, it's gonna be. We just read. It's gonna be wonderful. When you look around and you see these things like these big old thorny things, like them little sticker ball trees. I don't know what the practical purpose of a sticker ball tree
it
is.
don't seem like there's any.
I don't know what there is.
Everything got a purpose. We just don't know. So, yeah.
but when he returned all things, only reason why we got these thorns and thistles is because the land is cursed.
Mhm.
It's just gonna be none but beautifulness whenever the thing is restored. I'm not gonna sit on a beach under this beautiful tree that got this poisonous fruit on it, like I did whenever I was on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be sitting somewhere on the beach and I'm just gonna be able to just pull and eat from anything that I see, because the thing is going to be restored. Just like we look over here and we see in Leviticus where it talks about the people and all that being restored back to freedom. They got in a situation and they had to sell themselves into slavery or whatever. But at that time of release, then things are restored. All right, let's read through some more of this. Verse 17.
It says, and do not oppress one another, but you shall fear your Elohim, for I am Yahweh Elohim. You shall do my laws and guard my right rulings, and shall do them. And you shall dwell in the land in safety. And the land shall yield its fruit, and you shall eat to satisfaction, and shall dwell there in safety. Since you might say, what do we eat in the 7th year, since we do not sow nor gather in our crops? Therefore I have commanded my blessing on you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth the crop for 3 years. And you shall sow on the 8th year, and eat of the old crop until the 9th year. Eat of the old until its crop comes in.
Okay, very good. So we see over here where the Most High is saying that He is going to provide for this time where He's telling you not to sow.
That's the Most High right there, because like that don't sound natural. That's not natural, Like all these years, but on the 6th one, it's gonna be threefold. Specifically to do that, that's solely Him, because that ain't natural no other way.
That's the Most High.
Yeah.
And so again, when we look over here and see the Most High's divine providence working in action over here. Don't sow in the 7th year, but in the 6th year, I'm gonna bless you for the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year.
Okay, how they store that? I can't comprehend that. Hold on. Because you couldn't. I don't know.
Maybe it was like,
Because they gathered it all in on the 6th year. And
with
they
the oil that never ran out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then you figure they had their grains and stuff that they would keep their grains.
Okay. I don't know.
I would assume that there was some kind of way that they preserved other things that they just they preserved
stored
things.
it up. Had a way to store it up. Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't like that's like how we think about preserving like canned and stuff where it's like cooked and stored, but they probably had dried fruits. They could dry fruits.
Maybe that's why our people are such good hoarders. Because we like to store up stuff. Don't we? We just like to store up stuff. We don't. They never gonna use it. We store it up. Got a basement full of stuff.
We do be storing up some stuff.
Yeah, man.
But this stuff is supposed to be stored so that it could be used, not just indefinitely.
And that take faith too, because you be like,
yeah.
What if we don't eat? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And,
And so that's important because when we think about this thing over here, it causes you must have faith in the Most High. Because you just going to sow regular style on that 6th year, but you going to reap over an abundance. He going to bless you more from what you just regularly had sowed on that 6th year, the last 3 years.
Right.
And so, that's the Most High working in your favor as a result of your obedience.
And there's no other culture throughout time that did something like this, where they would let the land rest.
I mean, when you think about it, kind of it's faithlessness. It would be faithlessness to not do it, and also greed. Right? You not having faith in the Most High because he said he was going to do a thing. You're not trusting in that, but you saying, well, I got to accumulate this stuff. I got to get what I got to get. I got to be able to do. That's you trusting in what you can do instead of trusting in what the Most High said that he going to do. And then greed. Like I just need more. Like I gotta put. But he said he gonna give you from the 1 year. He gonna give you crops for 3 years. And so that there, that's faith is the main ingredient in this whole situation over here, I would say.
So I'm wondering. So if you didn't I'm just thinking about, like, for instance, the surrounding peoples. Was their land affected for not keeping it? And, like, we would be blessed for doing it, and they would have a drought, or their food supply would be affected.
You saying, negatively for not doing it?
Yeah. Because, they wasn't told to do it. We see just Israel being told.
Yeah.
And then that could make us like the merchants because we got stuff. You gotta come down with, hey, you need this? We can make money. You know what I'm saying? Wow, this situation.
The Most High set it up where Israel was able to be prosperous if they was just gonna follow the commands. And so I don't see why that wouldn't be a way that Israel would actually prosper, because you got these people who aren't doing his ways.
And he said, if we follow his ways, we're going to be looked at as wise to the nations. It's like, wait, why how we starving and they got all this? Be wise, because we doing what he said to do. So you want to buy this papaya here? I got you. Well, I don't know. Because we got it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be a factor in the blessings that followed after Israel, in terms of them, having over an abundance more than what everybody else would have.
Right.
Because of the fact that they got this 3 years worth of stuff,
Yeah.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
So either they have this thing that they grow and that lasts them throughout the 3 years, or they have enough where they're able to do commerce with the harvest that was so large.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so some way they was able to, whether it be for food or money, they was able to prosper for 3 years based on the 1 year.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Eating of the old until the crop comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have some dry fruit out there. Some dry
I know. That's what I'm
slices
like.
you be coming in with.
My favorite.
That's why you always be eating this dry fruit, because you Israelite. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Alright, you start reading that verse 23.
And the land is not to be sold beyond reclaim, for the land is mine. For you are sojourners and settlers with me, and provide for a redemption for the land in all the land of your possession. When your brother becomes poor, he has sold some of his possession, and his redeemer, close relative, comes to redeem it. Then he shall redeem what his brother sold. And when the man has no more to redeem it, but he himself becomes able to redeem it, then let him count the years since its sale, and return the remainder to the man to whom he sold it, that he shall return to his possession. And if his hand has not found enough to give back to him, then what was sold shall remain in the hand of him who bought it until the year of Yobul. And it shall be released in the Yobul, and he shall return to his possession.
Okay, so again, we're able to see that this 50-year cycle was, to be like this perpetual time clock, and it changed the value of things as you progress through the 50 years. Making things be more valuable or less valuable depending on where you was at in the cycle. And so that's interesting when we look at this in terms of this idea that the land is not to be sold beyond reclaim. Like, it's not a forever sale. Right, because the land belongs to the Most High.
Yep.
You just a traveler over here. This ain't yours. You just sitting on it for right now.
Yeah.
I'm allowing you to rest your weary soul on my land.
Yeah, and so we live in this place where these people came over here and decided that
Yeah.
they was going to own the land.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there was somebody who already was owning it.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I'm gonna kill you.
Forever though.
Forever.
These people. It's interesting that this place where we at. These people so-called base their laws off of these biblical principles. They forgot about this one.
Oh yeah.
They forgot about most of it.
They jumped over this one.
There's a lot that's on the list.
Mm-hmm.
This one's on the list though,
Yeah.
because they sit up here. You buy some land, and they decide that the needs of the government is more than whatever your little needs are. They could come in and eminent domain you and take it back
Yeah.
when you don't owe nothing on it.
Yeah.
It's yours all the way, so called. As soon as they decide that there's something that benefits the government higher than what it benefits you, the citizen,
Yeah.
they could come in there and just take your stuff off of you.
It don't say that nowhere in the book.
No, that ain't in this book.
Do they give you some money though? Don't they get?
I don't know eminent domain. You gotta look that up.
Yeah,
Eminent domain. They pay you for
Domain,
that.
They do.
They compensate you?
Yeah, they do compensate.
I'm about to say they got it. I mean, because if they don't do that, at least.
Right. I mean, but that's like new. Before they just take,
Oh yeah, but we was fresh out of slavery.
They just bust your head.
Yeah, out of slavery. Yeah.
I mean, even if they compensate you, it's like they forcing you.
Yeah, still.
Right.
You might have the perfect situation and
It don't matter.
yeah,
They want to put a highway there. You got to go
nothing you can do about it.
right through the middle of your neighborhood.
They want to run their pipes up under your place. They can do that if they want.
And a lot of that was done to our community to basically destroy our economic power base that we had.
Exactly.
They would do eminent domain and run things and highways, and next thing you know, the community is destroyed because they purposely did it to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why this place gotta be burnt down. All right? Because listen to this. It says overview. Eminent domain refers to the power of government to take private property and convert it to public use. The Fifth Amendment provides that the government may only exercise this power if they provide the just compensation to the property owners. And we know that they will be Constitution? That doesn't apply to us.
So that's just saying that they gotta pay you for it.
Yeah, but
I don't.
And what if you were living in public housing? Then ain't no payment. You just got to go.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Well, public housing
they won't
is
put you in
government
some other-
anyway.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's
So-
like, man, you ain't got nothing. Get see it.
Yeah, but saying all that just to say that when we look according to the Torah, those type of situations don't exist.
Mhm.
These over here, this is right ruling over here. The Most High has a land. He actually designates the land to specific people. If that designation that he made ever gets undesignated, it get redesignated
Yeah.
after a certain
reset
time.
it. Yeah.
It goes back to where it belongs. At this year of release.
That's why, it baffles me when people, kick against, the laws and statutes and commandments because it's set up for things to be right.
It's just righteous.
It's
Yeah,
set up
it's
for
right.
things to be, for you to deal with your brother right, for you to
Righteous.
deal with the land right. Everything is set up for good outcomes. How you gonna be mad at that?
They just mad because they just want to be free and do what they want to do. They don't like the part
They wanna
where
rob
they
their
don't.
brother.
Yeah, they don't want the part where you gotta be accountable and it's just certain things that he wants you to do. They like, no, I wanna. I want to be free.
I want the land forever. You sell me this land, you ain't getting nothing back.
Yeah, right?
And then I'm gonna plant until this land can, bear another piece of fruit because I got stuff to sell at the market.
Yeah.
I'm trying to become rich.
Gotta put chemicals on it, you know?
Oh my goodness.
All these chemicals.
If we would only just from a physical standpoint, if we would just keep these laws, statutes, commands, from a principle standpoint, we already ahead of the game in every way. Because people gonna deal with you the way you do. Well, let me just say, most times people gonna deal with you the way that you deal with them. Most times, if you're fair with people, they're gonna be fair back with you.
Right.
And so when you look at these things just from a principle standpoint, this is right ruling over here. If you are indebted to somebody, then somebody of your close relative is able to come and buy you out.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody who's able to come and redeem you when you're in this kind of impoverished state. So when we think about this idea of the kinsman redeemer, it's interesting because we think about people who debt in general, right? Debt in general. If we was living like these people was living in terms of community and clans, family clans, where if my brother becomes indebted and now he has to be owned by this person over there, that don't gotta be his reality. I could go get him. I could go pay the debt.
Yeah.
I could go get him out of there.
Yeah.
Yep. I want to do it. That's what we do. Like, that's part of our thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just be like, oh man, my brother, he got jammed up with so and so over there. He got to do 7 years of slavery for him over there. That's messed up. Where your brother at? Oh, he doing some slavery over there. But I feel like I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But the culture wasn't like that. Your relatives was like, oh man, he's over there doing that slavery. I'm gonna redeem him.
Yeah, get you free. Yeah. That's
like part of the culture, though. Again, there ain't nothing like that set up in this situation where we that's not like part of the norm.
Nah.
We just got
the concept.
A whole like generations of people that's just in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. The opposite's taught to us. The opposite. And we all willingly, when you sign for your house, when you sign for your car, you sign it on for the debt. Yeah, I'm gonna pay 24 months for this car or 30 years for a mortgage.
I'm so proud of my baby going to college, going $100,000.
$100,000. And that thing, you pay that off half your life. People be 50 paying off their student loans. That's crazy.
Yeah.
To be happy, smile on the paper. I'm gonna be whatever I'm gonna be. Thinking they free.
I'll make enough money, I'll be able to pay the debt off.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pay that off a couple years when I get out.
Yeah, they put a lot of faith in these universities.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're going to be able to be prosperous when only the Most High I can guarantee you that.
Exactly. But if you was to think about it now, if you was to think about it in terms of the Torah, if you went to college, at a year, so you do 4 years, you go to college at year 46. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should be good because 50
Clear that
come,
thing off.
50 come, and then now the debt is all cleared.
Clear.
It don't work like that because we don't live in a society that lives according to Torah. We got debts forever. We pass our debts on to our. If my grandmother died, and myself and my sister was her only heirs. I went to sell the house. And when they did the title search, they found out that she had a second mortgage on the house that was worth more than what the house was. It was worth more than what we was selling it for, and it was worth more than what it was even worth. So they just was like, well, we'll take the house and call it even.
Yep.
But in all actuality, we inherited my grandmother's debt.
Right.
We inherited that.
And it wouldn't have went away except them taking it, like taking the property.
Yeah, because if you would have kept the house, you would have had to assume that debt. If you wanted to move into that house, you was now in debt.
It was frozen. It was like I
enslaved.
didn't have to pay. I didn't have to pay anything for whatever reason. I wasn't getting no bills or nothing. But as soon as I tried to get rid of it, then it was realized at that point.
Right. Well, what happened is they, like, if you weren't trying to sell it, like, let's just say you were trying to move in it, eventually they would have sent you a letter and saying that, you know, especially if you put it in your name, that were probably where the contention would have came. When you tried to put it in your name, they'd been like, "Oh no, we." have a lien
It was in
against
my
the
it was in my name. Yeah.
Oh, it was in your name?
It was in me and my sister's name. Like we got bills from it. Like, we got bills. That's why we was trying to get rid of it. Because we was getting bills like tax. We had to pay the taxes and all this. But I'm just saying what we inherited was that, and there was no getting out of it until that got dealt with. It wasn't like when we look in the Torah where we could just get timed out of that. Right. In the Torah, you get timed out of that. In real life, it don't work that way. Well, I'm not gonna call this thing that we live in real life. First of all,
In captivity.
in captivity,
Living in
it
captivity.
don't work like that. In real life, you
It
get
should
timed
be.
out of that.
Yeah, it should.
In
be.
real
Yeah.
life, in this thing that they call life.
Cause now, what's that? What
This
verse?
is not real. This is not the life.
Mm-mm.
Oh no, this is oppression.
Yeah.
That's why I was say what. With the KJV, what verse is that referring to?
Which this?
At the bottom, that must be a whole different.
Hold on. Let me see which one is highlighted.
So I don't see.
The highlighted verse is verse 14.
14. It says, "And whatever you discern from the hand of the neighbor, do not exploit one another."
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know,
That was
It's built in.
The Most High is
It's
just
built
like,
into the
it's like-
Torah.
Yeah,
Exploitation is not what we do.
Yeah,
but this is it's opposite.
that's what I'm saying. Everything in the world is like is opposite to this.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this
Whatever it
is,
says,
the world
it's the
says
opposite.
direct opposite. Now,
But-
we want to exploit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to, you know what I mean, see how much extra I could charge Hiskey. for a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like we want to rob each other. We want to.
Greed. It's all
Yeah.
greed.
Yeah.
But when we look at the Torah, look at Leviticus chapter 25, that's not part of the culture that we as Israel are supposed to live by. He said over here that we're not supposed to oppress one another.
Right.
We're not supposed to have these dealings with one another that's built on greed. We're not supposed to sit up here and try to think about how we can perpetually have this one or that one be our slave.
I mean, is it that man just doesn't want to work to provide his own, to sustain his own life? He wants to rob other people to sustain his life. Like, I'm gonna take from this one and that one instead of just working for mine.
Well, it's the wicked one. You gotta look at the spirit of the wicked one. He going to accentuate all the wicked things that counter Satan, adversarial things of what the Most High said is right. He just going to accentuate it. Like, I wonder over in Israel, do they really do this? Like, do they like with the?
No.
So they got land and they don't follow this. All right, I'm not surprised, but I was just wondering. I mean, I know they don't. I'm just,
Yeah.
Y'all claim the people, y'all got the land, y'all, and now they be at the wall doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
What?
They
should be.
Yeah.
They just kicked some melanated Hebrews out of the land over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So that went through it? Or
Yeah. They have to roll up out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you think about this world that we live in, not just where we are over here, but just the world in general. These people that are in control of things, the people that are in control of things all operate really the same.
Right.
No matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
and it's all wickedness. It's all here. Let me put my picture on thing. It's all about
Exactly. Money, the root of all evil. Usury.
It's all about how much I can get out.
Yeah.
And they got this thing set up where they, forget about individuals being in slavery. You got groups of people in perpetual slavery.
Yeah. Born into
You
it.
ain't never coming out.
Like,
You gonna always be indebted to somebody,
right.
dependent on this or that. And so, again, even just from a principle standpoint, we're able to apply these principles, to our everyday life. It's going to allow for us to receive a built-in blessing. There's a built-in blessing. That's just reap what you sow type of a situation.
Yeah.
But above that is the spiritual blessing that the Most High gives because of obedience to His will and His ways. Debt. We think about debt, and this thing that we. I mean, debt. When we look over in the scriptures talk about having debts and being indebted to individuals. But the thing that makes it be wicked is if I owe you $5, that's what I owe you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I owe you $5, that's what I owe you. But now, if I don't pay you the $5 in a month, the $5 turned into $5.50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't pay you the $5, but then now that amount increases, which is making it harder for me to be able to pay you harder than it already was.
Right.
Because I already couldn't give you the $5 back, and now you making it be $6. And then I was late in paying you the $5, and so now I still owe you like $2 more on top of that. We wasn't supposed to deal with each other like that. And so we could see where the idea of debt is not something it's not a wicked thing. Because we could see that we could look in the Torah and see where debt is something that was utilized.
Yeah.
I owe you something and I could work that off. Maybe I don't got the money, but I'll cut your grass for a week and then we'll be good.
Right.
Right? But now when we turn this thing into a perpetual thing, in the Torah we see cause for people to be indebted to Israel, for years. And so we can't say that the idea of it is not a wicked thing. It's just a natural human thing. I have something that's of value. You use the thing that I have that's of value, but you didn't have enough to pay me for the thing that you use, so now you owe me. I mean, I can take that and turn it into wickedness, but it in of itself is just economics.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of having things that cost money. But the Most High shows us how to do it in a righteous way. And again, we live in this place where, their idea of righteousness is not something that's connected to economics.
Righteousness is doing what's right for you.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna say that even with the interest, they make you pay the interest first.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
pay the interest, then you pay the principal.
Yeah, you don't even get to the.
So like if they make sure they get their money first.
Yep.
So like if we go to refinance a house, you are really coming in under because you paid out all the interest to the mortgage company basically before you ended up paying off your principal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which is wicked. That right there is wicked.
Student loans too. All of it. They make you pay. They want their money. The bank wants their money first.
Now that right there is
the
wicked.
money on top.
Now that is an example of making debt be wicked.
Car payments and everything.
If I'm paying you back what I owe you, that's nothing. But now I'm paying you back for just the ability to be able to borrow from you. That's wicked.
I think that makes sense though. Now, no, but not now.
What you talking about? Interest?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Now, because we're talking from the perspective of dealing with one another. Now, when you get outside, and you dealing with another nation or group of people. Now, how they do it now is excessive. It's crazy. Like
That's
the
how they
percentage,
do it with us. We're another group, and that's how they do it with us.
exactly. Like it's like you said, it's economics though. So it's like you're giving over a resource or something you got to somebody else. So you try to do a little something for it. If it ain't your people, it ain't benefiting your situation. All right, a little bit of now the percentages today is out of control. But I'm talking like nations, how they deal with nations. Because even, America deals with nations and give aid to nations and You know what I mean? I'm just looking at
I mean,
that perspective.
America's
It makes
in debt.
sense. Right.
America's in debt.
Yeah, but I'm saying on an individual level, though, because that causes oppression.
Yeah.
You know, you can sell a whole nation over if your government say, yeah, you know, we sold y'all basically, you know, to get whatever, you know.
Well, look, this person here says debt and debt instruments are tools of usury and exploitation. Well, I mean, again, you can't say that debt in and of itself is exploitation, because we just look in scripture how where the things we see a right way to deal with debt.
Right.
When we think about the idea of interest, the Most High tells for us not to use usury. I can't charge usury to Israel. The commandment tells me not to charge interest to my brother. You know, people in other nations aren't able to enjoy the luxuries of, you know, what we do amongst ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
We don't deal with other nations the way we deal with ourselves. Now, that being said, you know, the way that they it's interesting because when you think about usury being done to you, you look at it as wickedness. But the commandment in the scripture is in relation to specifically to Israel.
Yeah.
And so
Technically,
I mean,
because it don't give numbers. Don't go 26%, 50% fixed adjustable rate after
I mean,
2
if
years.
if I break something of yours, according to the Torah, I owe you for what I broke. You give me something whole, and I break it. I owe you for what I broke, and then I owe you on top of that 20%. And so that's in this. That's at a percentage of what. If you give me $20 the whole, and I lose the $20, then I owe you the $20 back plus 20%. That's the scripture. So I mean, but there's an entrance fee, but that's different from. It's different from usury, even though it's the same principle in terms of an interest.
It's righteousness. It's like saying I'm sorry, my bad. Like, you know, it's like, hey, here's a little something more. You know, I messed up. Here's a little something. We good now, right?
Yeah.
You don't gotta feel no kind of way.
Right. But I've said we have to think about those kinds of things when we think about just the idea of debt, because those kind of things are built into the Torah, which from just a definition standpoint, if I'm putting 20% on top of something, that's interest.
Right.
You know?
Aren't you making it wicked if you expect like that? Like if you're expecting it? If they lost it, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm about to give my 20% back too.
Right.
I mean, I guess if you have like I guess it's any time you're trying to do something with some type of some ulterior motives, I would say that there's wickedness involved in this. I'm not. If you try to do something, if you do something nice for somebody because you want them to think about you a certain kind of way, then that's wicked. because you got some kind of ulterior motives. You're not doing it for the simple fact of helping the person. You're doing it for your own kind of selfish reasons in the end of the day. So we got to think about like intentions and all of these things when we think about all of these things in general. But generally speaking, when we look at this whole economic system, you know, I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses for the economic system that we live in. You know, the thing is wicked, all of it. But, you know, we just have to understand that when we look in the Torah, there's things that you can look at that are, you know, are similar in ways in terms of interest in adding things over and above what it's not always like thing for thing. That's different now if, like, say for instance, like if I break your thing and then I owe you the 20% and then now I'm in debt to you now, it don't grow more than that. Like that's the number.
Like it's 20% a month now.
Yeah.
You don't get my 20% back
Yeah.
this month, it's gonna be another.
Yeah, whatever your number is, that's the number, and it just stays that.
And keep growing.
It don't. It's not like if it would be different, like in this system that we're at, where you started off where it was this 20% added to the original thing, and now that thing done quadrupled.
Exactly.
It's like when they tow your car.
Oh my
They tow your
goodness.
car, right?
They tow your car because you couldn't pay the ticket in the first place. Now the reason why that happened to me. That happened to me. I had a ticket. You bringing up bad things. It's making me. I had this ticket that I couldn't pay. I couldn't pay the ticket. But now you towing me, and the tow fee is 5 times the amount of what I couldn't
ticket.
pay in the first place.
Every day your car is in the pound.
And then there's that too.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my goodness. A holding fee.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you asked for that.
Right.
Come on,
We're gonna
man.
keep it safe for you, but you gotta pay for that.
Come on, man.
Exactly.
These people,
That's the same with bank accounts.
they are here
Yeah.
making
You
money
overdraft,
out of-
I'm gonna charge you 35 because you didn't have none.
And I know you ain't got
And
I
it.
ain't
then
having it in the first
another
place.
penny come out, another 35.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like what? Yes.
Hey
That's what I'm
man,
saying.
but rich people don't gotta worry about that.
Man.
Literally, if you did make buy a piece of penny candy, they'll
Yeah.
charge you $35.
$35. You call, they like, well.
Like my mortgage, I was paying on my mortgage. I was making double payments for like a year, and I'm thinking they're like, going to apply it to the principal. So I would pay the amount that was due, then I would pay double. All right, then I'm paying them. They put the money in escrow, and then sent me a check at the end of the year.
Like
With
it's
the
the
money.
let's
Like,
save
yeah,
it
I'm
out.
like, what?
So you would say, yeah, you gotta tell them that they want to go to principal.
I
Huh?
put it on the check.
Oh, you did?
Applied to principal.
Oh, well, yeah, they should have.
Scam.
Yeah.
It's wicked out here, man.
This Ken said most debt is revolving and designed that you never recover or recoup. Yeah, when you think about, to me, the best way to really deal with debt, and I tell people this all the time, is that debt it could come in handy if you got the money.
Right.
Right.
If I know I'm gonna use this credit and then pay it all the way off where there's no interest added, that's how you do it.
Right.
If you buy something with a credit card and you know when that bill comes, I'm gonna pay all of it off, then that's good.
Right.
But where you get messed up at is where you sit up here and have this thing that you bought, and then you don't pay it all the way off.
All you got is the card. You don't got nothing in the bank. You just got a card with a limit on it, and that's your savings.
I mean, you can't use it like that. You can't use it like that. But I was saying, when you pay them minimum payments,
Oh man,
that's the worst thing you ever could have did.
that's the worst.
But
I
and
learned the hard way.
when you do that, when they sit up there and give you this number, you pay this and we're good. Yeah, we good, all right, because they getting they adding more money to the pot that you owe.
Yeah.
And so the way that they have it set up, yes, it is set up for you never to be able to, but you could work the system where it works in your favor.
Yeah,
but you can't use it like that.
But they don't teach
It's not
you
the
it.
same
That's what I'm saying.
account.
Why ain't they teaching us?
They
this
don't
in school?
teach you it.
Why isn't this part of the curriculum?
It should
Exactly.
It should be.
Because
but if we did things according to the Torah, it would help for us in the way that we operate, and that's something that we have to again from a principle standpoint, understanding that the Torah is giving us principles of how we can live our lives, and it's showing us how to really be. Walk around in righteousness in all that we do, even in our money dealings. Oh, what you trying to say?
I was gonna say that we got out of that deal, but when we bought our house for $75,000, and the 30-year mortgage statement said we would be paying $200. If we paid the house off in 30 years, we would be paying $200 and I don't know some odd $1,000 for a house that's worth $75,000.
What's the percentage on that?
I don't know what that percentage was.
like 150.
It was a lot for 30 years. So I was like, this is crazy. I even said that to the mortgage people. I was like, this is absolutely insane. But if we wanted the house,
Yeah.
That's what you had to agree
we
to.
had to agree to it because we don't have the money. We can't pay for it outright. And so then we went to refinance.
That's wickedness right there.
We went to refinance because it was, a few years later. Basically, over the course of that few years, all we paid was interest. And we still owe close to $70. I was like, we didn't pay any more than this off. It was like, no, you've just been paying interest this whole time.
Yeah. These people out here,
So it's crazy.
boy, they be making money hand over fist off of people.
Yeah.
And they act like they act like they broke. This country act like it's broke.
I mean, it kind of is broke. Because we indebted to other places.
Well,
We owe China everything.
But
Yeah,
that
that's
was
true.
that was the purpose of this country. This country's purpose was not to make the country rich. It was to make the people behind the scenes rich.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
people
So
that.
the country's
Yeah.
in debt, but the people behind the scenes
Oh yeah.
They
controlling
own the
everything,
Oh, yeah.
they are rich.
Yeah.
They don't have no debt.
No.
So it's like, you had this company in front of you that's assuming all their debt, and you
Yeah.
in the back making all the money.
Yeah, it's crazy. But but when you think about it, you can't expect for this wicked nation to be doing anything other than what they doing.
That's true.
They doing just what they supposed to do. But we know that when we believe in Yeshua HaMashiach, when we realize that Yeshua is the one who will bring this year of release to manifestation and set all things right, it helps us to be able to to live in this world. We don't have to be subject to all of these things and these systems that these people have set up. There's ways for us to be able to kind of work our way out of these things that they got around
Out of the matrix.
our necks, right? It's difficult, but it's not impossible. But again, like I say, from a principle standpoint, when we put these principles in place that we see in the Torah, you know, we help ourselves immensely. Okay. All right, so let's finish up over here. Let's see where was we at. We read down to original property. Oh, we read down to 29.
It says, and when a man sells a house in a walled city, then his right of redemption shall be at the end of the year after it is sold. His right of redemption lasts a year. But if it is not redeemed within a complete year, then the house in the walled city shall be reestablished beyond reclaim to the buyer of it. Throughout his generations, it is not released in the Yoba. The houses of villages, however, which have no wall around them, are reckoned as the field of the country. A right of redemption belongs to it, and they are released in the year of Yoma.
So when you sit up here and buy this city property, that stuff don't count. You just renting that. When you out in the countryside, that stuff where the year of the release takes effect. When you inside the city, that stuff belongs to the city.
that makes sense. Because it's the density, like, it's like, and like I said, and there's a field there, so there's land associated with it, so it's like, makes sense. It says, as for the cities of the Levites and the houses in the city of their possession, the Levites have a right of redemption forever. And that which is redeemed from the Levites, both the sale and the house of the city and his possessions, shall be released in the year of Yobel, because the houses in the cities of the Levites are their possession in the midst of the children of Israel. But the field of the open land of the cities is not sold, for it is their everlasting possession. Okay.
All right, very good. So when we think about this year of release and the things that it provides for the people, and again the spiritual significance, when we think about the fact that it's pointing you to this time where all debts are cleared, this time where liberty is pronounced to the people. It points us directly to what it is Yeshua has done for us. We, through Yeshua, are able to be made free from all the things that bind us. So we're able to experience a year of release. Actually, whenever when we come to Yeshua, we're able to, go from a place of being bound up and enslaved to this thing or that thing, and as a result of what we find in Yeshua, being made free from whatever it is that binds you. He said that who the Son makes free is free indeed. And so not only can we think about just coming to Yeshua as a type of year of release, but understanding that when he comes back, there's going to be this trumpet blast, and when that trumpet blast is sound, Yeshua is coming and he's making judgment, and he's going to judge everybody for their deeds. And if you haven't been come over to the right side of the fence. If you haven't joined yourself to Yeshua HaMashiach when he returns and pours out his wrath, then that wrath, unfortunately, is for you. He's coming back to exact a year of release for those who are Israel. If you not connected to the Most High and his people through Yeshua HaMashiach, then you're not able to enjoy the blessings that he provides. This whole thing about not being in perpetual servitude is a benefit of being a part of or attached to Israel. If you're not a part of or attached to Israel, then you don't enjoy the benefit of not having perpetual servitude. That's part of the Torah. That's part of something that's connected to being the people of the Most High. And so, this, as well as all other things that we find in the scriptures that point us to blessings and all types of good things. These things are created for those that are called the people of the Most High. And if we are not connected to the Most High, then we're not able to enjoy the things that he has made available for us. Okay, so does anybody have any last questions or comments about any of this stuff that we talked about? Okay, that being said, we will save the remaining verses of this chapter to deal with on next week, y'all willing. Pisky, hand me that thing over there. We got to do this at the front end, do it at the back end. See that? Okay, so today is 49 days, which is 7 weeks and 0 days of Omer. Okay, which means that tomorrow is Shavuot. Okay, so we counted 7 full weeks. Tomorrow is Shavuot. As we go out today, I want to wish everybody blessed rest of your Shabbat, and also a wonderful Shavuot, which comes in on at sundown. Hopefully the Most High is able to show you some new and wonderful things on this feast day that's coming up. And yes, we actually will give a little recording from our conversation that we'll have tomorrow. We won't be live, but there'll be a recording of it on the channel after the fact. Okay? Alright, so that being said, y'all bless everyone. Shabbat shalom to y'all. Y'all willing, we will be back on next Shabbat with some more. Oh yeah, and as always, remember to like the video, share the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Help for us to grow the channel and allow for more people to hear all the things that we talking about over here. Okay? All right, so Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.